It's a good song. All right, part 3. Beyond the universe, the cosmos. Having seen the structure of the universe and understood its functioning, you ask, what and what's beyond this? Immediately you have a sensation, your consciousness, that is, of moving like a dot through the void at infinite speed without interference or impediment. Actually, you are not moving, you are filling the void with your consciousness and your senses. There's no limit to the extent of human consciousness. It can expand to fill the universe, and then you can talk to the Creator. You can talk to all the beings who are gods. You have a diplomatic visa to infinity. The more you expand your consciousness, the faster your sense of motion. You can expand at an infinite speed in all directions, or you can expand in only one direction. At infinite speeds, distances make no difference. You can be everywhere in no time. You are in all places at once. Our perception of time changes in altered states of consciousness, and our so-called subjective time becomes longer and reaches infinity as consciousness expands. Let us look at this principle more closely. There appear to be two kinds of time. Objective time, the usual clock time, conveniently divided into even units, and subjective time, a more flexible time that can stretch and compress according to our state of consciousness. We know that in an altered state of consciousness, such as a dream, we can experience an enormous amount of events in only a few minutes. Time seems to expand, and for every objective second, one has hundreds of subjective seconds. Let us draw two lines intersecting at right angles, the vertical line representing objective time and the horizontal objective space. Superimposed on them are two dotted lines representing subjective space-time, left in figure. Under normal conditions, these two sets of lines overlap. However, in altered states of consciousness, the subjective space-time deviates from the objective space-time. Let us mark off 1 second on the objective time axis, and through this point draw a line parallel to the space axis. Now, let us rotate the subjective time axis until it intersects with this line at point A, right in figure. The point of intersection will indicate the subjective time equivalent to 1 objective second. We can readily see that subjective time appears to grow longer as the deviation increases. In this case, we get 3 subjective seconds for 1 objective second. Imagine now a situation in which the subjective time axis deviates so far that it becomes parallel to and overlaps objective space. This would imply that our subjective time fills all objective space. It takes no time to get anywhere. This is what happens in expansion of consciousness. We can fill the entire universe with our consciousness at infinite speed and be everywhere at once. In other words, become omnipresent. So here you are, seemingly moving at infinite speed in the dark void. You are leaving this universe of ours, which now looks like a luminous watermelon in the distance. You look up in disbelief. You begin to see more universes. They appear arranged in a rising spiral helix, and you discern 7 rings, each containing 7 universes, or 49 in all. Each universe is the body of a creator. God is too complex a being for us to understand, so for our benefit, he projects himself into 3 aspects, making a tetrahedron of himself. The tetrahedron, a pyramid with 4 triangular sides, is the most basic, economical, stable, 3-dimensional structure in the universe. This is why most religions have trinities, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit of Christianity, or Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva of Hinduism. It's easier for us to deal with one aspect of him at a time. Each part of such a trinity functions independently in its own characteristic way when it communicates with smaller consciousnesses such as ours. You are then looking at a coil of 49 universes. You must forget sizes and switch your scale. Imagine that you go to a gas station and inflate yourself with an air pump to the size of the gas station. Then a continent, then a planet. Finally, your body is the size of the universe. On this spiral, a tiny speck in the void. You must measure things in terms of universes, otherwise you would become disoriented and lose your perspective. Above the coil of 49 universes, you see a luminous 3-dimensional form that seems made of bluish neon tubes. Tremendous energies are flowing out of it. You're puzzled because you recognize this as the Aleph, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and you ask what it means. The explanation comes immediately, as if from someone guiding you on this tour. The shape of the Aleph has nothing to do with Jews or the Hebrew alphabet. It is an abstract three-dimensional shape formed by four creative energies that are active on this level. As the four energies of different frequencies interact, they create a rectangular interference pattern, which was directly cognized by ancient Hebrew seers and incorporated into their alphabet. The rectangular shape of other Hebrew letters also reflects this interference pattern. As we shall see later, there are other letters and symbols in space. They are part of human consciousness and therefore become the archetypal symbols of mankind. At this level, you understand the meaning and power of sounds and how they affect the space around them. Letters, numbers, and sounds are equivalent. They all have certain effects on creation, and you can create with any of them. The Aleph, pronounced Ah, is the basic sound in the universe. It comes from lungs unobstructed. There is no other sound produced this way. The Aleph represents this whole structure, and therefore it is the all. Expressed in their corresponding numbers, the letters of the all total 50. In other words, the Aleph contains all 49 creators, or the sum total consciousness of the creators, since consciousness is cumulative. 49 plus the Aleph itself equals 50. The front side of the Aleph is luminous and the back side is dark. This expresses two polarities. From the luminous side emerges a stream of 22 interference patterns of Hebrew letters in the correct order of the alphabet, hovering in space. On the black side, the 22 letters are in a jumbled sequence. You are puzzled and wondered what this means. The explanation comes. The interference patterns or letters are the transducers of the energy emanating from the Aleph, stepping it down to the physical level. On this level, good and evil exists in terms of knowledge of the law expressed by the correct sequence of patterns, and ignorance of the law or chaos expressed by the jumbled order of patterns. And what is the law? The answer comes after seeing the entire structure. The Aleph is broken down into three aspects or focal points, forming a trinity. They appear as groups of Hebrew letters. The center stands for love. This stands for will. That stands for creation. These are the three chakras or energy centers of the Aleph, which itself stands for wisdom. Okay, good. It'll show you. Each center radiates light of a different color, expressing the quality of energy of each particular center. Gold for love, blue for will, and red for creation. The Aleph radiates a brilliant white light, which is a combination of these three colors. Together, these four colors or frequencies represent the four energies that create the interference patterns of Hebrew letters. The three centers of the Aleph can be expressed in numbers corresponding to the letters of the centers, because in the Hebrew alphabet, each letter has a numerical value. In other words, this structure is modular, built up of cycles, each represented by a unit, a number. The combinations of these units or letters express the laws of this level of creation in an ingenious way. The roots of many Hebrew words can be read in two directions, from right to left and from left to right, producing opposite meanings. This appears to be the case here. If the letters representing the will center are read from right to left towards the love center, together they will become this that you can't see, meaning extinction, destruction. If read the other way, from the love to the will center, they become that, which literally means he kept walking. In other words, the general meaning is to go, keep walking. The cosmic law conveyed this way is that to go from love to will is all right and safe. However, if you go from will to love, you are destroying, because you must know love first. The whole system runs on love. Love is the cosmic law. The letters of the creative center mean to hope intensely, to desire. They also mean will begin. Read backwards, they become meaning, in essence, for life, read in both directions, they combine into the meaning desire for life to begin. This desire resulted in the process of creation, symbolized by the swastika within the creative center, representing the four-dimensional rotating universe. It is interesting to note that if you merge your consciousness with that of the creator, you discover within him a rotating swastika. In other words, swastika stands for both the creator and the creation. They are inseparable. Having examined and understood the details of the structure, you want to see where it ends, and going away from it, you suddenly come to a wall, which appears to have alternating flat and curved parts. You wonder why, and as you move along this wall, you realize that you are trapped within an enormous sphere. Let us call it a cosmos. You keep moving inside the cosmos until finally you break through its luminous golden skin. To your amazement, you discover that it is surrounded by more cosmoses, each with an aleph and a coil of 49 universes within, pressing against another innumerable cosmoses like frogs' eggs. In biology, there is a close-packed structure found in living cells where only 6 cells can fit around a central cell, creating a tight structure of 7 cells in one plane. As the cells press against each other, their sides flatten into areas of contact. This explains, by analogy, the alternating flat and curved areas in the wall of the cosmos. How many spheres of the same size can one put on top of these 7 spheres so that they are stably located? There is space for 3. On top of the 3 spheres, one can put only 1 sphere. This creates a 3-dimensional module based on the tetrahedron, reflecting the numbers of spheres in each layer: 1, 3, 7. 2 such modules joined together produce a unit cell like a crystal. In physics, 1/137th is known as the fine structure constant, which determines the size of atoms, crystals, mountains, or whatever is structural. In relation to the cosmic module, it represents 1 fraction of the universe. To be more specific, the fine structure constant is a measure of the strength of the electromagnetic force that acts between the electron and the atomic nucleus, and thus determines the magnitude of the electron orbit, which in turn defines the size of the atom. The structure of a material is determined by the size of its atoms. The whole system is built on modular forms, the tetrahedron being the basic structure of the universe. The diamond, whose structure is based on the tetrahedron, is the strongest material known, since it reflects the basic structure projected from the closely packed forms of the cosmos. This is also why when yogis put themselves into a lotus posture, creating a tetrahedron, they become the best antenna to resonate with the cosmic input of information and energy. On levels beyond the universe, human bodies no longer appear. A consciousness that wants to project information to you will assume human features, eyes, or a face, to show that it is a consciousness, something that can interact with you. For example, when you leave our universe, a consciousness shows up immediately that looks like a triangle surrounded by flames. Then a face appears within the triangle. The flames around it represent the 4 fires or energies projected by the Aleph within the cosmos. You are told that this figure is named Agni, and he appears to be the guardian of the space within the cosmos. As we shall see later, the hierarchy of consciousnesses is represented by a variety of abstract archetypal